So if anyone tells you, well, gee whiz, there was that Cana moment and so forth, that's an entirely different story. And if there are any theologians that wish to research that, they'll find much the same things. Is that the church points to the Cana changing of wine and so forth, and that really was the point of that parable. It has nothing to do with marriage.
I have a question. Susan mentioned like 1,000 things that married couples had that other couples. Where is that found? I would love to have that so that I can argue it.
I believe that there's the GAA, the General Accounting Office. Actually, there are 1,135 special rights that married couples only get.
Yeah, but why isn't that everywhere? I mean, it would make arguing why it's crazy not to let everybody get married. If they want to,
it should be. I'm not certain where it's located. I know that I'm pretty sure it was the General Accounting Office that had that. But I'm not.
I'm guessing it would make a really good thing for all of the organizations that are trying to support same-sex marriage to have a hold of and be passing out.
Right. There are some things for doing that, and I think it's also an important thing again to mention that. When people say that, well, you can just have a will of that kind of a thing, that again, which is kind of harking back to that no, there's other stuff.
Complex.
Yeah, there's other stuff there that, well, okay, that'll work for, tell you what, everybody who's ever been known as Janice will now be known as Sheila, and all they have to do is just change every document and every picture of every person who's ever been named Janice to being Sheila, and it'll be, would be the same kind of a thing because there are laws at multiple levels of government. For example, when my ex and I split up a couple of years ago, I had to refinance and redo the deed of my house, and I had to pay a transfer tax of 1% of the home's value. But if we'd been married, I wouldn't have had to pay that. So again, that's like the local law. So when people are thinking, well, if you have this parallel structure, I mean, you may remember, for example, like in the middle 90s, a lot of predominantly white fundamentalist churches were kind of like, we're really sorry about that whole segregation thing and supporting that back in the 50s. Oops, sorry. And I mean, I think there's a lot of cases where there's going to be a summer kind of a thing in the future that, well, we did this really nasty thing, and gosh, oh heck, we're really sorry now, but but there are special rights, like I said, and I think it's a pretty, that's just
over 1,000 special rights seems like something worth to have passing it out.
Yes.
Yeah, with a little bit of research, I'd appreciate if you just kind of work it through amongst yourselves, and then we'll break it open.
Okay, sure.
I'm just creating an agreed upon boundary.
Okay, sure.
Very good.
There's a difficulty. There are people, it's become two separate issues. One is they've arrogated to themselves to the right to define who's a Christian. Well, nobody in this room is. You're defined out. You don't believe. You don't believe their way. You don't have the title. You can't have it. And they've decided who gets these rights. That these aren't really rights, they're rewards. They're the benefits of marriage. And they don't want us to have them because that's tolerating and condoning the lifestyle. And you will hear that over and over and over again, the gay lifestyle. I have yet to figure out what it is. For the past 3 years, mine was being a bad mom. Running kids to play practice, getting groceries, trying to get them to school on time, picking them up if they were sick, running assignments they left in the house on the table up to the school. I don't know what they thought that we were getting over on them in terms of the, all this extra fun. They're more than welcome to run school papers up for me. I don't care. Picking them up from the university to do grocery shopping with them because they've spent themselves broke. But the gay lifestyle is this bogeyman that they've created. There is no gay lifestyle. There are gays, there are lesbians, and they have lives, but there's no unified thing. Their big weapon is their ability to define Christianity as themselves. You're not going to see a faith-based initiative going to the UCC during the Bush administration. And their ability to hold on with the dying gasp of political power, the right to define marriage and keep everyone else out of the club, on the grounds that it would weaken it, when in fact it would enhance it. People are invested only in those institutions that they can participate in. How the deuce committed do you think I am to anyone's marriage right now if I stay locked out? If there are more people involved, they are more committed. If there are more people covered by constitutional guarantees, they are more committed to the institutions that they benefit from.
I think the people that are die-hard opposed based on this skewed religious view are in the minority. I really do. I think there's an awful big middle ground of people who just aren't sure what they think. There's something about using the word marriage that, oh gee, kind of bothers them, but they're really not 100% sure why. It just doesn't seem right, but they don't know why. And I think they're very educable. I think they're very persuadable, because I think if they're down at the bottom of their hearts, fairly reasonable, intelligent people, I think the kind of arguments we're talking about here can get through. I don't think it's necessarily going to happen overnight, unfortunately. In some states, it will happen faster than others. This may not be one of those states. But you never know. You know, and I have heard other people talking about this issue and saying this is a work in progress. This is a long haul. I'm very impatient about things like this. I don't like people having to wait for their rights. I want things to happen immediately for people. And if it can happen in the state of Massachusetts, and maybe it can happen in another state, maybe it will happen in New Jersey, maybe it will happen in New York. Oh, it should happen in New York, for heaven's sake. I'm a little prejudiced. But I mean, I feel optimistic about this issue, because to me it's a no-brainer. It's just a no-brainer. And I think the fact that it's become such an accepted part of the popular culture makes a difference for that great middle ground of people that just aren't sure, but don't have these deep-seated convictions against it. People who have deep-seated convictions against homosexuality, who absolutely believe it's a sin and it's terrible, I don't think those people's hearts and minds can be changed, and I'm not going to waste my time with them, to tell you the truth. There's an awful lot of other people out there who can make the difference when it comes to the voting polls, etc.
Yeah, if I can just react to that again to something, you know, the discussion in terms of the religious rights attitudes about marriage and so forth. For some reason, Britney Spears' name keeps popping into my mind, you know, and her 2-minute marriage in Australia. She had no trouble.
She was married for 52 hours. The first two women married in Los Angeles, or not San Francisco, excuse me, had been together for longer than that in terms of years. So maybe they're afraid we'll show them up. I don't know.
Right. But somehow this whole notion of Britney Spears, you know, just the image of her, you know, commitment to her significant other in terms of going through that marriage ceremony, which, you know, gave her all the benefits that Lisa was referring to, the 1,000+ benefits, that two committed people that are living together as partners for 25, 30 years never can. You know, somehow there's a little bit of an injustice there and a lack of fairness. But there are a couple of other things, just very quickly, that you know, in terms of the Marriage Protection Amendment that we fought so hard to defeat last year, and were successful in defeating, was preceded by the Publc amendments the previous 2 years. And likewise, we were successful in derailing both of those. So
this
those
is in Pennsylvania. This is Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Publc was the state representative from up in the northeast corner of the state, and introduced some very repressive kinds of bills that, you know, really we had to work very, very hard to do.